You're listening to a Brooklyn Nets episode of the Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the team's latest goings-on as only he can. Follow him on Twitter at RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Hello, Nets fans! Welcome to another Brooklyn Nets episode of the Jacob Valk Show. I am the Jacob Valk, except no imitation. It's fitting to do a Nets show today, seeing as though they just signed Goran Dragic. If you were to write down on a piece of paper what the Nets really needed, it would look a lot like Dragic. A backup point guard that can anchor the second unit, be the primary ball handler, shoot really well from beyond the arc, give the Nets another weapon, more versatility. I mean, the Nets were at the point where they needed talent above all else. But when that talent comes in the form of filling a huge hole, it's a match made in heaven. Dragic is the ideal fit for this Nets team. He makes them instantly better. I had thrown out the possibility of the Nets bringing him in for a while. The fact that it's happened is insane. I think Dragic can have a LaMarcus Aldridge type impact for the Nets. When Aldridge first came to the Nets, he was absolutely lethal, gave the Nets another scorer. The Nets were 3-2 with him playing. And if he wasn't forced to retire, I truly believe the Nets would have made it past the Bucks. He could have been the difference maker in Game 3 or Game 7. I mean, now, think about the starting lineup for the Nets, assuming Kyrie can play. And I'll get more into Kyrie in a little bit. But think about this. You can have Kyrie, Seth Curry, Kevin Durant, Ben Simmons, and Andre Drummond as your starters. Off the bench, you can have Goran Dragic, Patty Mills, either Cam Thomas or Bruce Brown, maybe Joe Harris, Blake Griffin, and LaMarcus Aldridge. That bench unit is better than some starting lineups that we're going to see in the playoffs. I mean, I heard people saying that with the Nets going on the big losing streak and trading Harden, that they wouldn't be an attractive free agent destination. No. When you have Kevin Durant, players will want to play with you. Especially when Dragic used to play with Steve Nash and he used to play with Amari Stoudemire. I mean, the buyout market will, in essence, end in about a week. March 1st is the deadline for when players can be bought out and still be eligible for the playoffs. So let's say John Wall is bought out at 11:59 on March 1st, and he signs a week later. He will be eligible to play in the playoffs because he was bought out before March 1st became March 2nd. If Wall is bought out on March 2nd at high noon, he will not be able to play in the playoffs. But there is a real chance that Dragic becomes the best player that gets bought out. Who's better, Dragic or Eric Bledsoe? I'd rather have Dragic. Dragic or Gary Harris? I'd rather have Dragic. Dragic or DeAndre Jordan? I'd rather have Dragic. Dragic or John Wall? I'd rather have Dragic. Goran Dragic fits the Nets fantastically. Think about where the Nets were a month ago. Think about the roster that they had. They really didn't have many ball handlers. They had a lot of defense-first players that really couldn't create for themselves, that weren't good offensive players. Now you think about the four guys that the Nets have brought in. Ben Simmons is capable of creating an opportunity for himself. He is more than capable of driving past the defender for an easy layup. Seth Curry, flamethrower. Andre Drummond, get the ball to him in the interior, watch him go. Goran Dragic, really good shot creator. The Nets are so much more well-rounded now than they were a month ago. It's scary. Like a month ago, it was let the big three do their thing, everyone else just watches. Now the Nets have so many different ways to beat you. It's scary. They can outscore you. Their defense is going to get better. Bringing in a guy like Simmons and Durant coming back. Their rebounding got greatly improved by bringing in Drummond. They now have a true backup point guard that's capable of orchestrating the offense. Javon Carter was absolutely useless. Ball hog. Not a great defender. I'm glad the Nets got rid of him. I didn't think they would. I thought it would be a guy like Claxton, because it would have been cheaper to get rid of him than Carter. But you know what? Good job by Joe Tsai. Now, I don't want to say that they're prepared for whatever comes their way. But with this roster together, come playoff time, it's going to be really tough to beat them in a 7-game series. Not impossible. I'm not saying the Nets are title favorites, but they're a lot better now than they were 24 hours ago. And they're more well-rounded than they were a month ago. One thing we learned from the failure of the Nets' big three is that it takes more than just 3 offensive superstars to succeed in the NBA. You need defense, you need rebounding, you need other players to be able to step up. The Nets didn't have that before. They have that now. Kyrie is capable of going off on any given night. Same thing with Curry. Same thing with Durant. Simmons can get you like 20, 25 on any given night. Drummond can have games where he just bullies the opposing center. Dragic can go off. Mills can go off. Thomas can go off. Griffin can have games where he drops 15. Aldridge can go off. If Kessler Edwards rights the ship, watch out for him. I still like Kessler Edwards a lot. I know he's hit the rookie wall, so to speak. Hopefully the All-Star break does him some good and he can work through his mistakes. I like Edwards. The Nets still have time to decide whether or not they want to make him playoff eligible. Because he's on a 2-way contract, he's not. But theoretically, the day before their 82nd regular season game, they can waive someone and sign Edwards. It's up to Edwards, though, to earn that spot. He hasn't done it yet. As much as I like him, he has not done that yet. But Bruce Brown can go off on any given night. Joe Harris, if he comes back, can also. This Nets roster is really, really good right now. It is well-rounded. It really doesn't have any holes. The only thing I could maybe see people getting upset about is the lack of a 3-and-D wing. But Bruce Brown can do that. Maybe he's not the lethal three-point shooter you want, but he's not a bad 3-and-D wing. I mean, the Nets are going to switch a ton. A lot of players on this roster have the ability to guard multiple positions. Durant can, Simmons can, Griffin can, Brown can, James Johnson can. I really don't see that being a huge issue. There is no question about it. The Nets roster is better than it was 24 hours ago, and it's more well-rounded than it was a month ago. Are there some things that could stop the Nets? Absolutely. Injuries for one. There are a lot of really good teams in the NBA this year. The Heat, the Bulls, the Sixers, the Cavs, the Bucks, the Suns, and the Warriors. But ultimately, you've got to take those matchups as they come. Maybe they suffer some injuries. The Nets aren't going to go up against all those teams anyway. Maybe there are some upsets. That's not what's worth worrying about. What's worth worrying about is New York City's vaccine mandate. Because there are some interesting updates. Adam Silver called it out recently and said it's unfair that players from road teams can go into the Barclays Center or Madison Square Garden if he's unvaccinated, but an unvaccinated Net or Knick can't play. I think we can all agree that that's incredibly unfair. Okay, and I've said that before, that Kyrie Irving is being punished because he's a Net. If he was a Celtic, or a Rocket, or a Cavalier or a Jazz, a Warrior, a Sun, whatever, he'd be fine. The fact that he's a Net means that he's being punished. And that is wrong. Okay, I think we can all agree on that. The mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, actually agreed. He said that it's unfair. That's the word he used. Unfair. He also used the word struggling to make that aspect of the mandate make sense in his head. So, okay, progress, right? No. The mandate will stay in place because it would send mixed messages to repeal the mandate. That honestly may be the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. It honestly may be the stupidest thing that I've ever heard anyone say about this whole pandemic. And we've all seen the conspiracy theories about 5G networks and the vaccine being a tool for the devil to be inside your head and other nonsense like that. Here's the thing about where we are right now with this pandemic. Vaccines have been available for over a year. Not to the general populace, but just in general, in this country. It has been available for over a year. I got my first dose over a year ago. I got it in February because I'm obese. That's no secret. We're at the point now where anyone who wants to get a vaccine is able to get one. There are no shortages anymore in this country. That's why some vaccines are being sent to other countries. They have shortages, we don't, so we're helping. The mandates may have convinced some people to get the vaccine, but it hasn't worked enough. There was a deadline of today, actually, for healthcare workers to get COVID-19 boosters or be terminated. That deadline was pushed back 3 months. Why was it pushed back 3 months? Because if it had been enforced, there would have been staffing shortages. I personally feel like we're at the point now where we're not going to convince anyone who hasn't gotten vaccinated to get vaccinated. Okay, if they've gone this long without getting it, there's nothing more we can do. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Okay, shame on the unvaccinated for not protecting themselves and the people around them. See, the whole point of the stay-at-home orders at first was to stop inundating ICUs and hospitals. They were at or near capacity. It got to the point where it was very close to unmanageable. But now, cases are down, hospitalizations are down, deaths are down in NYC and all over the country. I just don't know what needs to happen for Mayor Adams to get his head out of his ass and realize that people need to start living their lives again, even if they are unvaccinated. Should they get vaccinated? The answer is yes. In a perfect world, LaMarcus Aldridge and Andre Drummond would hold Kyrie Irving down while someone gave him the J&J shot. But that can't happen for a myriad of reasons. At the end of the day, in this country, you have the right to kill yourself if you want to. And I don't mean that you have the right to jump off a bridge or shoot yourself or jump in front of a train. Nothing gives you that right. But if you want to smoke a pack of cigarettes every day, if you want to drink to excess every day, if you want to balloon to 700 pounds, you have that right. All the government can really do is educate you on the dangers of doing that, but they can't handcuff you and force you to live a healthy lifestyle. Look, there was a time when I was pro-vaccine mandate, but now you can't be. This whole time it's been follow the science, follow the data. Well, the data says that cases are down, hospitalizations are down, and deaths are down. So what's the magic bullet? What's going to motivate Mayor Adams to change the mandate? If you want to keep the vaccine mandate for recreational activities, okay, I understand that. That makes sense. But we're at the point now where we need to let people live their lives. Okay? It's been almost 2 years of people not having the freedom to live their life. Not to get too political, but in my opinion, one of the reasons why the Republican Party did so well last year was because they ran on a platform of ending these mandates. If these mandates don't change by 2022, watch out, Democrats, you're going to see a red wave. Not to get too political, but that's really what I think. Kyrie Irving has a right to ply his trade. And the reality is there is no good reason right now to prevent him from doing so. If you want to prevent Joe Blow from going to the Barclays Center and enjoying it, fine. Okay, for recreational activities, no problem. But as far as people needing to support themselves and their families, no. A mandate should not exist that prevents them from doing that. Look, maybe if cases go back up again, we can revisit this. But at this point, there's no good reason that Kyrie Irving shouldn't be playing. In my personal opinion, Kyrie Irving should be able to play on Thursday. You'll get another Brooklyn Nets show in 2 weeks. You'll get a New York Islanders show next week. Regular episodes of the Jacob Valk Show come your way every weekday afternoon. Until next time, I'm Jacob Valk, and always remember, if you disagree with me, you're wrong.